Oh, yeah. Five-star. LSU. I said, they ain't ready for the LSU. No, they ain't ready for the LSU, huh? They ain't ready for the LSU. No, they ain't ready for the LSU. We the best in the league if you looking for talent. LSU going hard, but we beat Alabama, then we going out to Florida. Drown the Gators, everybody getting bucked when we step in the stadium. This the LSU anthem, you know it's a hit. You don't know another rapper two-step like this. See me screaming out the window, yelling purple and gold. I'm an LSU fan, girl, you know how we roll now. Back and back it on up, hey. 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 Way down in the back.
Can they do it? Swing and a miss! And Southern Miss advances to a super regional.
One. High in the air to right field. Getting chases. Thompson still going. It is out of there.
Make sure you go follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, all at Tigers Avenue, for daily updates on the show and all things LSU sports. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to click off and hit that subscribe button at Tigers Avenue. We broadcast all of our shows live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter.
Yes, sir. Welcome to Tigers Avenue. Boy, oh boy, it's a great day to be a Tiger fan. Welcome in there, Zach.
Hey, I don't know what happened. I just cut out. But, hey, we're here.
No problem. Well, We had some technical difficulties. I don't know what was going on with the video there. It was supposed to have Demouy narrating, obviously, but it's all good. Y'all, I'm sure y'all have seen it. We're excited about the new hype video. Zach, I mean, applaud. I mean, if I had the ability to play the applaud, I would play it for you. But hats off to you. Wonderful job, as always. The football one was amazing. The baseball one is just as good. And who better to do it than Demouy? Who better?
I have to agree.
So, Zach, we got Demouy here. Let's bring him on in. We got to break down this fantastic day, this very highly anticipated day. Demouy, how you doing, man?
Good, man. Thanks for having me on, fellas. And real quick, I got to say, one, I was honored and humbled to be asked to do it. I was actually shocked when y'all first asked me. And then two, Zach, you crushed it. Like every time I watch it, there's three parts that get me. One is the first part. And it's part of it's the music. But the beginning, and especially when Thompson hits that bomb and you hear the "Let's Go" in the background.
Yes.
The Trey Morgan when he puts his hands up, like I don't know. But the last one that like hits me like right in the chest is at the very end. It goes quiet, and then you cut to the dude putting his batting gloves on. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I get a little lump in my throat. Like I've seen it probably 20 times, and I swear every time. So you crushed it. I don't have a great voice for that. I'm no Anthony Mackie, but I appreciate it, man. Very humble. Very humble.
Hey, look, I enjoyed making it. Put a lot of time into it, but when you do a hype video like that, you got to have some meaning behind it. Like you're not just throwing in highlights, So like, obviously it's assumed that this is the last year for Cruz and Morgan. And those are the two guys that have been with the program and have obviously been consistently playing the last 3 years. And so, I definitely wanted to throw in a tribute there at the end to those guys. And that's what was meant for the end of that video there. So I appreciate you doing that, Demouy. I had a blast making it.
Yeah, I'm just glad y'all liked it. I hope everybody else liked it, but I loved it, man. I thought you crushed it with it. So very cool stuff.
It was fantastic. Both y'all did great. We appreciate you doing it. Ryan's in here already. Demouy. Yes, it's baseball time, guys. It is baseball time. Zach, we have discussed the outfield. Of course, Peyton's in here. Welcome in Peyton as well. We're going to hear his opinion about starting lineups out. Milazzo didn't make it. So I want to hear from Peyton about that. So we've covered outfield. We've covered the infield. We've given our predictions. Obviously, the starting lineup and rotation is out. The 1 through 9 line is out as well. Obviously, the game's starting at 3:00. So everybody knows what it is. So we can discuss it and break it down. And, of course, we want to hear Demouy's takes on the pitching staff this year, the job Wes Johnson has done, and what we're looking forward to with this staff. And so that's what we're going to be focusing on really at the beginning here. So, Demouy, the starting weekend rotation is a bit of a surprise for everybody. Bit of a surprise. We got Skeens, which isn't a surprise. Cooper, and then Shores on Sunday. So what was your initial reaction to that, and what are your thoughts?
My initial reaction is I got it completely wrong. I'll tell you that, because I didn't. I think everybody, obviously Skeens, everybody knew about Skeens, but I did not expect Cooper to start, and whether or not he stays in the starting rotation is yet to be determined or yet to be seen. But I've seen him pitch several times, and I saw him pitch last Friday, and I believe it was last Friday, and he absolutely dealt. It was 4 innings, and he was facing Cruz, Morgan, White, and he cut those guys up. I don't think either three of those guys got a hit. So I think with Cooper this year, I think the best thing is you've seen him develop a changeup with consistency, so he's not just fastball slider guy. And his velocity is about the same, but I think, I guess Jay Johnson obviously thought he had earned that, and Cooper mentioned some of the fact that he really wants to start. So I had a little bit of that in my career, but I felt in the end I'd rather stay in the bullpen. But so that surprised me. And then Chase Shore surprised me because I really thought it was going to be Ty Floyd. I haven't heard Ty's name mentioned the past 2 days.
Not a lot, yeah.
Yeah, but Shore obviously is an amazing pitcher, amazing prospect for just being a freshman. I think people who haven't seen him pitch yet are going to be shocked when they look at his velocity, because it's a real 97 to 99. Like, that is no joke. And he's a massive kid. You know, he's 6'8" freshman. So I thought Shores would be more of a midweek guy, like let him throw against Southern, get 4 innings, then he throws another midweek game. I initially thought he would press for a weekend spot come SEC time, just because of his stuff so good. And they had a lot of people, I don't know how y'all felt, they had a lot of people talking about him in the pen as a closer, but when you watch him pitch, his stuff is just too good to throw 1 or 2 innings. Like if your stuff's that good, I want you to go 5, 6, 7 down the road.
Yeah.
So I think fans are going to be pleasantly surprised. You know, transitioning from football and then basketball has been a little bit of a mess, and if people haven't had a chance to see these guys, I think they're going to be excited. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Demouy, how do you think this is going to play out with Cooper? I mean, obviously he said Hurd would go Tuesday, and we know ahead of schedule we have Texas the next Tuesday. So is this a setup to have Hurd pitch against Texas, and do we see him then work back in, or do you think this is what it is for now until he sees some kind of change?
I think you're right. I think, Hurd's going to be set up to throw against Texas. I think you're exactly right. I will say I saw Floyd and Hurd throw last Sunday because Saturday got banged because of the weather. And Hurd struggled with his control, really, not his stuff, but he was just missing with his fastball. He walked a couple people. He got 2 monster home runs hit off of him. So, and I think he worked some in the midweek. I don't know what that work means, whether he threw an extended bullpen or threw to some live hitters to try to get some things right. And I think that's another reason why he got pushed back. But I saw on Twitter where Jay thinks he needs to start for this team for them to be successful and throw a bunch of high leverage games. So, Reagan, I think you're exactly right with him. I think he's going to be in that weekend rotation. I just think unless Cooper goes out for the first 5 weekends and just absolutely carves people up, he's just so valuable in the pen because, one, he can throw long or short. He can throw Friday and Sunday, no problem, or Saturday and Sunday, no problem.
Yeah.
And I really think if you need somebody to close, he can close. You don't have to throw 97 to close. He's got the mentality to close. He's been there, done that. He's had success. So I just see him being so valuable in the pen. I just don't know if he stays a starter.
Well, hey, you mentioned following up what you just said about the closer. I know from listening to your podcast, you know, you and just from talking with you that, and I had to agree with you that I think some of us saw Grant Taylor, you know, obviously vying for a starting position or becoming the closer.
Yeah.
I really like the idea of him becoming a closer. And then, you know, somebody like Chase Shores, you know, pitching during the midweek, and getting him ready for a weekend rotation with Floyd, Hurd, and Skeens on the regular weekend rotation. But now that Grant is out of the picture, you know, Chase Shores has now filled that Sunday spot. We'll see what happens with Coop and Thatcher Hurd. Who do you see that could potentially take over this closer role? Because I think with a team that needs to make a deep postseason run, obviously the bullpen has to be deep. We know that from just the teams that have won in Omaha, but also the need for a really good closer. So who do you think, now that Grant Taylor is out for the season, who do you think fills that void?
Man, I think the easy answer is I don't know. I think there's a bunch of people that could fill that void. And I think it's going to be closer by committee just to see who adapts to that role, see who fits. So some of the names I think, one, I would not be surprised to see Christian Little move back to the bullpen, the transfer from Vanderbilt. I do. Now, listen, I don't have a ton of inside information at all. I think he probably came here to start and to, you know, put in some mound time and get, you know, be a starter, whether midweek or SEC. Maybe he didn't get that at Vanderbilt. I think he's got more left in the tank. The other day I saw him, he was 92, 94, but he always looks like he's holding back a little bit to me. So I wouldn't be surprised if his velo could jump up if he's in that closer role. I think Bryce Collins could close. You know, last year he was 88 to 90. Now he's 94, 95.
Which is
like
wow.
It's significant in terms of his velocity
huge
jump. Yeah. And he kind of did that middle relief role last year for LSU. I think he's valuable in that role. So Little, Collins could close. Then I think we mentioned Cooper. And I think two more candidates are probably the freshman Aiden Moffitt. I have not seen him throw in a while, but I know he's got a mid to upper 90s fastball. He's from Mississippi. He was a big-time recruit. So I'll be interested to see him pitch. And then I think the other one could be maybe a dark horse, maybe Garrett Edwards. That's somebody that's been in the program for, I think this is his third year. Hasn't gotten a ton of innings, gets a lot of stuff pre-conference, but when you go to conference, you don't see him a lot. I saw him throw the other day, and he was 94, 95, which shocked me. But the other thing that shocked me was the effectiveness of his slider, because it was hard. It was 90, 91, and that blew me away. And he carved for 2 or 3 innings when I saw him a couple of weeks ago. So I think between Little, Collins, Moffitt, and Edwards, and then Cooper is kind of the wild card. I think it could be any one of those 5 guys, and it may take I think it's going to take till conference to sort it out.
I've thought the potential of Chase Shores closing. You know, if Floyd takes over a weekend rotation, and obviously, you know, if Hurd takes over a weekend rotation, and then maybe Christian slides to that midweek starter type role, I've really, really liked the idea of Chase being the closer. And maybe a part of that is due to the fact that we had, you know, the awesome 2017 year of Zach Hess, him coming in as a freshman and just being completely dominant as a closer. Maybe that's part of the reason that I'm kind of wishing that. Is that a stretch to think?
No, I don't think it's a stretch, but I think we all get blindsided by velocity, and I'm the same way, especially now when you see it on all the broadcasts and all the scoreboards.
That's true.
You know, throughout the conference. But I think one thing people need to remember, all these high school kids were starters, you know, their whole careers. You know, you don't really have a bullpen per se in high school. So I think one of the things about closing is, one, do you have the mentality? I kind of compare it to a DB, because you're going to get burnt. Can you line up and go again the next play? So you're going to give up a home run. You're going to give up a lead. You're going to come in with a man on second, and they're going to score the tying run. So can you bounce back mentally? But the other part of it is, can your arm bounce back? There's just so many things going into closing with, you know, how quickly do you get ready? You know, how do you bounce back if you get hot and then you don't pitch on Friday night? Or are you able to get up and throw again Saturday? You know, if you're throwing 30 pitches in the bullpen and you don't throw Friday night, can you throw again Saturday, 15, 20 pitches in the bullpen, then go out there and perform? You know, a lot of these kids, if they're starters, they may take a little while to get loose, or they may not like throwing from the stretch very much. So I think some of it is mentality and just preparedness for the role, because I didn't get used to starting until I got into college, and then I loved it. I had the ability to throw back-to-back days, you know, whether or not my stuff was as effective. But that's a big thing, you know, and I just don't know if some of these freshmen are ready for that as of yet.
So middle relief, since we kind of haven't really discussed that yet.
Yeah.
And I'll throw some names out just out of curiosity, because I feel like their names I'm not hearing much, but I know they're on the team and I know they're around and can contribute. Blake Money, Sammy Dutton, the freshman Griffin Herring, Will Helmers. Like, are these going to be some of your guys that are your middle relief? I mean, what's your thinking on that? And of course, you said that Cooper is very valuable out of the pen, and I got to agree with you. I would love to see Cooper to be your first guy out of the pen, because I think he would be your first guy.
You also got Coleman recovering as well. He should be back at some point this season, I think.
Yeah, maybe so. I think the names you mentioned, Reagan, are the exact same names I would throw out there. I think sometimes, obviously, you know, the big thing with the bullpen is early on you're going to see how guys throw, right? Because throwing to another team obviously is very different than throwing to your own team.
Yeah.
So I think situation dictates a lot of whose number they choose to call. Righty, lefty, point in the game. What do you need situationally? Do you need a ground ball double play? Do you need a strikeout, etc.? I think all those guys. I think Money's going to be in the pen. I think Dutton could be a swing guy, maybe a midweek starter, but he's going to be primarily in the pen. I think Helmer's pen. All those guys are going to be in the pen. It'll be interesting to see how they use Griffin Herring, and then you have the other freshman, DJ Primo, both lefties. And I admitted this the other day on my pod, I forget about this guy all the time.
Is it the Canadian?
No, I think he's going to redshirt. Micah.
Oh,
Buckman.
really?
Yeah. I think the JUCO lefty, Nate Ackenhausen, he's almost like he's
I thought he was the Canadian. I thought he was the Canadian.
No,
he's JUCO transfer. Okay.
I think he could be a swing guy, but I see him taking some of the pressure off if Riley Cooper does return to the pen because he's left-handed as well. Him helping Cooper carry that load.
Yeah.
And he's another guy that's an easy middle relief guy. He's 90, 92, 93 with a good curveball, so he can go 1 or 2 times through the order if needed, depending on what the start. If the starter gets kicked out early, Ackenhausen can stretch out the 3 innings, and I think he's going to be a big bonus in the pen. And he may take some innings away from those other 2 freshman lefties.
Yeah. Well, that sounds awesome. I mean, I'm thrilled about our staff this year. It feels like we have more depth. And more to work with. Whereas last year, we had very limited starting, and the loss of Javen Coleman, I think, really hurt us too last year because it was like we had 3 guys coming out of the pen. Like we had Cooper, Reiselman, and Gervais. And it felt like that was it. So I feel like that was a huge struggle. So to have this depth this year, I mean, how crucial is that in terms of a deep run?
Yeah, I think to your point, I think this year is the complete opposite to where I think you have 5 or 6 guys that could start really when you look at, Skeens, Cooper, take the weekend 3, right? Skeens, Cooper, Shores. And then you throw in the fact that Little can start, Hurd can start, Floyd can start, and Dutton Money have done it in the past. So there's a bunch of guys that can start. Now, whether or not everybody's a quality SEC arm, that's yet to be determined. So I think this year you have more starting power and more question marks in the bullpen. And I think that's easy for fans to see. Maybe the coaching staff thinks they got it figured out. So that's the biggest question mark for me is who's going to step up in the pen. I think the starting rotation, if you have enough arm talent, they're going to figure it out, right? They got enough guys.
What I love about the pen this year is a lot of those guys are guys that have been in the past asked to go for extended out, like Blake Money started last year.
Helmers
Dutton started last year. Helmer started 2 years ago. When Javon is healthy, he was a guy that at the end of 2021, he was, potentially about to be a starter. Like a lot of those middle relief guys that we have been talking about, those are guys, a Christian Little, may be a middle relief guy.
Right.
Those are guys that they have extended. So like, I think what's going to help LSU this year is, you may have guys that go out there and they, when a starter has a bad game, they go out there and they save you a bunch of arms for the next 2 days.
Yeah.
Because you have those guys that have extended in the past. So I really like that aspect of this pitching staff.
You're exactly right. Yeah. I mean, just a ton of depth. And you think back to the end of last year, just like y'all said, Reiselman, Gervais, Cooper, Collins, Fontenot, Vittmeyer, all those guys, because the starters rarely made it, towards the end of the year, I felt like they couldn't make it out the 3rd or the 4th. Hilliard could extend sometimes. And then come regionals, you really saw it come back to bite LSU. Those guys were they were toast. They had nothing left. And they just couldn't hold on to anything because they had been relied upon so much. So I think the depth in the pen is really good this year. And if you think about it, they have 2 guys that were supposed to contribute this year that are hurt, that are sitting out. Caleb Appleby was a JUCO guy. He got hurt, so he's out this year. And then probably the most highly touted freshman pitcher, even more so than Shores, I think, is Jaden Newt, and he's out with an injury this year too. So there's just, Jay Johnson
and Gray Taylor.
Yeah, you're right. And with the addition of Wes Johnson, they loaded up on arms. I mean, they got arms for days. Now it's just up for those guys. They just have to prove themselves now, and they just have to sort themselves out because there are going to be a lot of guys down there fighting for innings.
Yeah, it is. Could you imagine if all 3 of those guys were healthy? Like the depth is there now, and if you added those 3 more arms, like Newt, Appleby, and Taylor, those are really good stinking arms. That are, I mean, the depth is undeniable this year. One more thing about pitchers, and then I guess we need to discuss pitchers just a little bit. That's no problem. What Zeke will probably. My son will probably come make a random entrance here in a second, so don't worry about it. So Skeens, is the stuff the real deal? Like we're hearing like he's the best pitcher in the country. Like is Paul Skeens really what we've been hearing Paul Skeens is?
Yeah, so I apologize if there's a little background noise with my
no
dog.
problem.
I think we're good.
No
now.
problem.
He's just excited it's opening day. That's all.
Yeah. So, yes, he's the real deal. Like, he's going to be 97 to 99, unless for some reason because it's cold. I don't see why that would affect him. He's thrown in cold all spring, really.
Colorado,
So he's going to be 97 to 99. I think if it was a night game, I think he would hit 100. I mean, legitimately hit 100. Yeah. And he has a wipeout slider. He's got a good two-seam. He drops, it's like 94, 95, I believe. And then he's got a changeup. So last Friday, I think struggle, maybe a strong choice of words. He scuffled a little bit with his control last Friday when I saw him throw in the scrimmage. Yeah. He was just falling behind. Like, he gave up an 0-2 hit to Napolt. He gave up a 2-2 hit that drove in an RBI to Brady Neal, the freshman who had a really good at-bat off of him. But the other thing to remember, I always temper that because this lineup, these guys have seen Paul Skeens since October. Yeah. So they know he's going to throw 97, 99. They know what his breaking stuff looks like. So they know if it's 97, 98 at their chest, they're going to lay off of it. Whereas Western Michigan, those guys have barely been outside. So when they see that tonight, it's going to get on them in a hurry. So it's a step up in competition, though, with the SEC. And when you're asking him to be the Friday night guy, that's just something he's going to put on his shoulders. But I think he's the right guy to do it from a mentality standpoint. A guy went to the Air Force Academy. So he's been through the rigors, I think, just from a personal standpoint. And his stuff's the real deal, though. So I'm excited for y'all to see him pitch and for all these fans because, he's massive. He's 6'8", 240. And when you see him out there and he's pumping that, you're like, this is fun. It is legitimately fun to watch him throw, because his stuff is so dominant.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Well, pitchers have definitely, I don't think any of us are overlooking the fact of how, well, there you go. There he is. I told you all it was going to happen. All right, go play, buddy. We're in the middle of the show.
Well, I want to look at him.
Okay, you can look at him. Just be quiet, and so we can talk back and forth. Okay.
No, I want to be in there.
No, you don't need to be in there. Get your card and go to your bedroom. Go ahead. All right. So, we can't understate the importance of the depth and the talent that we have this year. No, we can't right now, buddy. I need you to go to your room so we can finish the show. Take your cars and go. Take your cars and go. Go. He's hard-headed like me.
No, man. That's the point of live streams, right?
Absolutely. There's almost no way to avoid it. I knew it was going to happen eventually. Yeah. Because of what happened last year. That's what I was trying to get to. We can't understate that because of what happened last year. And that makes me so much more excited because I feel like our offense, like our lineup, can produce more than it did even last year. And now we have the depth and the talent from a starting standpoint. We've got arms to fill in the mid relief, and somebody's going to end up taking a closing spot, or maybe one or two or three of them will kind of fill those roles. And so it's really exciting. I think this is why we're number one in every poll, because you have more talent in the offensive lineup, and now you have the arms to back it up. So the catcher position, this was supposed to be, our predictions, obviously, with the game moving up and whatnot. It's come out a little earlier than expected, and that's fine. And it's Brady Neal. You've been there. You've been seeing the catchers. Brady Neal's getting the start. So in terms of defense and offense, like, who is your overall, like, is someone going to take the spot and run with it? Or is this going to be situational where they use two guys like Neal and Milazzo interchangeably? What is that going to look like?
I think they're going to use them interchangeably early on. It seems like Jay Johnson really likes left-handed, right-handed matchups. So Milazzo is a right-handed hitter. Neal's a left-handed hitter. In terms of defense, I think Milazzo has a stronger arm, and I think he's better defensively. Yeah. That's not to say that Neal is not good defensively or doesn't have a good arm. I think Neal's an improvement from where they were last year defensively, once Milazzo went down. Now, Hayden Travinsky's still there. I think he's going to may catch a little bit, but probably DH more. I think he brings kind of some intangibles from a leadership standpoint. He's been there a long time, and you can hear him really cheering guys on at scrimmage, and he's a pretty vocal guy. But the other two, I don't know how much time they're going to get behind the plate, but they also brought in 2 other freshmen besides Brady Neal and Jared Jones, who's DHing today, and then Ethan Fry, who's from Louisiana. I think one of those guys eventually will move to first base to take over from Morgan. I don't know who that may be. They both can swing it, and they're huge. They're both 6'4", 220 with a ton of power. So I don't know how they're going to shake out in terms of getting innings behind the dish this year, but I think it's going to be a Milazzo-Neal battle. And I think they're going to go alternate back and forth depending on who's pitching for the other team. And then I guess who takes the reins of the job? I think you know what you're getting from Milazzo from a defensive perspective. Just can he hit better than 200? Can he hit 250? And I think Neal, that he could legitimately hit 300 this year or close to it. And I would add in there, I don't know, 4 or 5 home runs. I don't know if he could hit not as a freshman, not double-digit home runs. He's a double-digit home run guy eventually, from the left side of the plate. He just handles the bat so well. He has a really advanced approach. So, to your point, I just think it's going to flip-flop back and forth, until this thing shakes itself out.
So you mentioned this briefly before the show when we were talking before we got started. He's supposed to be a senior in high school. So, how impressive is that?
Yeah.
Very. Come to think that, I'm sure he was probably 17 when he got to campus. I don't know. But still, the fact that he's supposed to be hitting off, high school pitchers right now, and now he's facing, he's teammates with the potential number 1 overall draft pick and Dylan Cruz. He's in the same locker room with him. And now he's catching Paul Skeens to open up the year, who's a top 10 Major League Baseball pick, and he's going to be handling 97, 98 when, he should be worried about a ton of things, probably proms on that list, all kinds of things. Right? And he's got and next week he's going to fly out to Austin, to start for the number 1 team in the country. So it's, but obviously he has the mental aptitude to handle all this stuff, or else he wouldn't be starting. I think that's one of the things I missed, and we were talking about it before, but that is one of the things I missed on my predictions. And I think one of the things that Jay Johnson gets right. And I know y'all cover all the sports, and with, like we talked about, Harold Perkins as a freshman and just coming on that scene and doing what he did, and Neighbors and Besh 2 years ago. I think Jay Johnson takes the same approach. If you're good enough to play as a freshman, then that's why we got you here, and then we're going to play you. And I think I missed that on some of my predictions. I just didn't think it would happen in this prominent of a role with Paxton Kling leading off as a freshman to start the year,
Well, I think, and this is no knock on Pulmonary and his staff, but I think some of that, not putting them in the lineup, not thinking about them, is maybe a little hangover from the previous staff, because you just didn't really see that with the last staff. I think they typically went with a more experienced guy, with Paul and them. They would kind of nod Milazzo, I think, if it was still him, over Brady Neal, and I think it would be more consistent rather than interchangeable. So that maybe some of that is what, because we didn't even consider some of the guys in terms of Chase Shore's starting pitching.
Right.
So something definitely we'll have to get used to with new staff and whatnot. All right, Zach, those are our pitchers and our catchers analysis so far. I think we need to kind of shift here a little bit. I wanted to talk about the batting lineup before we got to our season predictions, because it's out. So what do we think about that? I guess we can start with Zach. What did you think about the lineup and it coming out today?
So obviously yesterday, y'all know we all were texting yesterday a lot. Once we kind of found the news.
Hey Zach, sorry to cut you off. Just do you two for a second. I need to go check on Zeke.
Okay, we're good. So for me, Demouy, I obviously there was some surprise with the pitching staff. Also, a little surprise with who we were beginning to hear was going to be the starting day lineup. Hearing that Josh Pearson was not going to be in the lineup was honestly a big surprise. Because if you go back and you listen to us previewing the outfield, me and Reagan both locked in Pearson and Cruz to be the day one starters, and for sure opening day. Paxton Kling was definitely mixed in there as the guy that was going to take the third spot. Joe Bear, obviously. But to see Joe Bear in left and starting was honestly a surprise for me. And I think it has to do, honestly, just with how Jay wants to run this team. He made it very well known last year with how he wanted to run the team, and that's offense, offense, offense. And we know that Joe Bear has hit the cover off the ball. Was he a little bit hit or miss last year? Yes. But he's a guy that brings you a lot of pop. And, you know, from what we also have heard, Pearson has struggled a little bit here in the offseason. So I definitely don't think that, you know, this is writing Pearson off by any means. I think that Pearson is going to see a lot of time. I would very much assume that we're going to see him this weekend as well. You know, so I think that was the biggest surprise. I had predicted Napolt because I had been hearing a lot of things Napolt. And I mean, Demouy, you kind of gave me some insight on that because when we were talking about second base the last time, I think, you know, I had mentioned that I assumed probably Dugas would assume that role. And then you were like, hey, don't sleep on Napolt. And, you know, as I started to look into the roster a little bit more and started to follow a little bit more closely as we got closer to time, you know, Napolt is somebody that just kept getting mentioned. And you see the results of that today with the start. So in our infield preview, I ultimately picked him to be the second base. So I was happy to see that. What do you think overall, Demouy, as in like 1 to 9, the actual order of those guys hitting? Do you like the actual order of that 1 through 9 that they released today?
Yeah. And I'm with you on the outfield spot and Pearson. I missed on that too. Now, I did think Paxton Kling would take over very soon. I don't know if I saw it today, but I knew that was going to happen soon, maybe even as soon as next week. I just thought today he may just let him take it all in. Once again, my misperception with regards to how valued some of these freshmen are. And for Joe Bear, he has been working. Every time I've gone out there, Joe Bear is in left or right for either team. I have never seen him on the bench in a strictly DH role, and that's been since the fall. And I know last year in right field, he looked lost the 1 or 2 games he played out there, and he has not looked like that this year. He's got a good arm, actually. And but in terms of the lineup, I think it's scary. The thing that surprised me is putting Joe Bear in the 2-hole. And like you said, he is.
Yeah, that did surprise me.
He hit like 248 last year, but he had 18 bombs. And it felt like he either hit a bomb or he struck out. So in my predicted lineup, I had Joe Bear, I think in that 5-hole, and I just pushed Cruz up to
I had Joe Bear in the 5-hole as well.
Yeah. But I know Jay likes to do the left right thing, and it makes sense when you got Kling, Joe Bear, Cruz, White. That's the only 2 righties back to back. But I think it's got some depth with Jones and Neal, even though they're freshmen. One of the things that did worry me about the lineup is, you know, if you put Pearson in there and Joe Bear at DH and then Milazzo in there, I felt like the lineup got really thin at the end.
Yeah.
I'm thinking in my head, like when I wrote out lineups, potentially, to me, I was like, when you get past 5, there's a lot of dudes that strike out. Now, Joe Bear can hit a bomb and Dugas can hit a bomb, but some of those guys are a lot of swing and miss or just not a ton of consistent contact. But I think with this lineup, it really extends it. And like you said, Napolt, I predicted him to eventually take the reins. I think second base is going to be a bit of a revolving door early in the year. Like tomorrow, you'll probably see somebody else. And then, you know, Sunday you may see Dugas and Merrifield the next 2 days. But I just really liked Napolt from the first time I saw him. You know, he's a solid dude out there. You know, he's 2 or 3 year starter at VCU, who's a borderline regional team every year. And I love him in the 9-hole. Because
that's awesome.
He's going to roll it over.
Yeah, him in the 9-hole. We've talked about this, I think, twice now. He had like twice as many walks as he did strikeouts at VCU, and that's like unheard of. I mean, I've never seen that before. So the ability to turn the lineup over is huge there.
Yeah, y'all definitely beat me to that point because I love him in the 9-hole, you know, because of that fact. Like, And I love Thompson in the 7 hole as well. Like Thompson is a guy that could hit 5 or 6 or kind of earlier in the lineup, and he's down there at 7, which I love. Or he's down there at 8. I'm sorry. So like I mentioned him as a potential 9-hole hitter to roll over, but I think having Thompson at 8, having Napolt at 9, who is just a get on base machine.
Yeah.
I think that was massive for them to find somebody in the 9-hole that, even if they don't hit, because we know Napolt, like he's not gonna hit. Probably, I mean, I'm assuming he's not gonna hit double-digit home runs this year. But he's a guy that is gonna get on base, and when you're able to flip over the lineup to the guys that can hit out the yard, that's gonna be massive for LSU.
Demouy, was it you who said this year? I can't remember who said this, but was it you who put out a prediction that Trey Morgan would hit double-digit home runs? Was that you?
Yeah, that's me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he hit 5 last year, which is crazy, but I saw it from the first time, and I saw him in the fall, and obviously he's lost some weight and trimmed up some. Not to say that he was fat, but he was, to me, he looked not significantly, but he was noticeably bigger body-wise in the fall.
Yeah.
Put on some weight in his legs. His upper body was really big. Now, he stand out, and I think he looks really good. I just think he's going to hit double-digit home runs this year. I mean, he had 5 or 6 last year, I think. I don't see a reason why he can't drive more balls out the ballpark. There's a lot of protection around him. He's always had the ability to go to all fields. But, I put it out there. I think he's going to hit double-digit home runs this year for sure.
I think that's going to be exciting. I'm really excited for him because last year it felt like he was a bit limited because of his knee.
Yeah, right.
In terms of, his freshman year, his speed was awesome on the bags, and he could beat out certain ground balls and whatnot. And last year, you just didn't see that because of his injury, and maybe some plays at first base which he made plays at first base with the knee brace on that others couldn't make 100% healthy. Right. But, I mean, his freshman year, you were seeing him make some plays that he wasn't making last year. So to have him 100% again, fully healthy, boy, Trey Morgan, I think, is going to have an All-American type year. I mean, he's going to be amazing.
And you brought up a good point. I forgot about it, too, until you just mentioned it. He can flat out run.
Yeah.
Like, he can get it. And he's just as good defensively as he was last year, if not better. I mean, some of the plays, you've seen him make in the scrimmages have been it was funny to me where people talked about putting him in the outfield, and he can play the outfield, and I understand the versatility standpoint.
Right.
He's so good at first. He's an All-American first baseman. I would never take that dude off of first base ever.
Yeah, we were seeing that. We were seeing that spread around Twitter because they were saying, well, he's probably not going to play that at the next level. He's not going to play that at the next level. So they need to try him out in the outfield or something like that. And we were like, why? Like, why would you do that when he's so good at first base? I mean, freakish athlete at first base.
Yeah. No, I definitely think in pro ball, if they wanted him to play a corner outfield spot, I think he could pick that up no problem.
Yeah.
He's like you said, he's too good of an athlete not to run out there and catch fly balls.
Exactly.
A little bit of training. But, I think he'll hit double-digit home runs. And Zach, to your point about Napolt, if people are trying to get an idea, he's almost like think about him as your prototypical, quote-unquote, prototypical two-hole hitter. Mm-hmm. Bunt, move guys over, hit and run, get on base, foul a bunch of balls off. But now just put him in the 9-hole.
Yeah.
And that's I think that's a great place for him, kind of like you said, Zach. So, yeah.
All right, Zach, I think we need to get to some comments. We need to hit a quick break and then come back and do our season predictions and tools for success because we're already 46 minutes in.
Yeah, let's take a quick break and then we'll get back to comments.
Sounds good.
All right.
5-Star Hero, your intro and outro music for the Tigers Avenue show. They ain't ready for that LSU. Go check out all his other music on all the major platforms. Don't forget to follow him on Instagram at Saints Anthem and at Twitter at One Nation Doty. Don't forget to check out his Facebook page for all his Saints and LSU merchandise. Can't get any better than Sarah Klein Stevens, attorney at law. Her firm focuses on the needs of the elderly and maintaining their dignity throughout the process. Here for you, here for your family. Sarah Klein Stevens, attorney at law.
All right, we're back. Reagan, I'm going to have you answer this question.
Okay.
Peyton asked us if Neil struggles defensively, not going to be a good look. And I don't think Jobert should be in the 2-hole. He hasn't swung it consistently enough. What's your reply to that comment?
First, I mean, we haven't seen anything from Neil to say he does struggle defensively. I haven't heard anything like that. It sounds like he's handled the pitchers quite well, even when he was receiving for Skeens. He received well, and maybe Demouy can add on to that. But last year, it felt like we did have a problem with taking pitches in at times, and maybe some miscommunication every now and then.
Yeah.
And I think in terms of throwing like their arm, like throwing guys out, I think it's a step up from like Milazzo or Neil is a step up from what we had last year. And that's no knock on Tyler McManus. McManus was just doing his job because Milazzo was out the whole year. And I think he did a great job and was a great bat in the lineup. I mean, he could go yard at any moment. So if he does start to struggle defensively, I mean, obviously you have Milazzo and you can go there. But today, I think we see him again because of what Demoui's been stressing, the left-right situation. He is a left-handed hitter, and you're facing a right-handed pitcher. Tomorrow, you're seeing a lefty. You're probably going to see Milazzo. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. And I really haven't seen anything that says he does struggle behind the plate. I haven't seen anything at all. Demouy, what did you see from him in terms of receiving the pitches and just defense anyways?
Nothing that really stood out. I think on Friday, I was trying to remember, and I looked back at my notes. I don't think he's caught Skeens last Friday. And that may have been another reason why I kind of leaned Milazzo, just because Neil's a freshman. I'm sure he's caught Skeens in bullpens and in game situations when I wasn't there. I mean, I can't imagine them putting out here. I can't imagine this coaching staff putting him out there and him never caught Paul Skeens. That would be hard for me to believe.
Yeah.
But I do agree. I think it was Peyton, right? On the Jobert and the 2-hole, that's a weird combo.
Yes.
It's scary if you're a pitcher to when you circle that guy on the scouting report and like your 2-hole had 18 home runs. That's scary to face that guy, to know that, before you even get to Cruz, you got a guy that could run one out the ballpark in a hurry. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if he changes his approach a little today, or he just sticks with what he's been doing. I did see something on Twitter yesterday where I think Jay wants him to have better at bats, right? Not so
he did.
Between home runs. So it'll be interesting to see if that happens. Long-term 2-hole, I don't know about that, but I mean, I think he's the perfect guy to slide into that 5-6 hole potentially, down the road. But today will be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what he does.
Absolutely.
Ryan says, #tell me TA. I love that Ryan knows how to ask us questions in here. I love it. Do you trust this? Now, listen, guys, this is something that I've heard a lot on social media, so I'd be interested to hear what y'all think. I'll give my take right after and then let y'all go. He said, do you trust Wes to keep the pitching staff healthy, considering his history with pitchers' injuries? I think there's a little bit of a stretch there with that narrative. There's a narrative going around that Wes, runs his pitchers into the ground a little bit, and there's some injuries that happen. I don't know necessarily how much I buy into that, whether I find it factual or not. But I mean, the question that I ask people is, do you trust Jay Johnson? And I trust Jay Johnson. And if he believes that Wes Johnson is somebody that he can trust and rely on to run this pitching staff, then I'm going to go with it.
Yeah, it's I don't know his injury history in terms of I have no idea on his background.
Yeah.
When he was at Arkansas and then the Twins, I just don't know. I will say it seems like everybody, a couple of different things. I definitely don't think he's to blame for Grant Taylor's injury. I saw somebody on Twitter saying that they should push the start of the season back, and that was one of the reasons for the injury. I don't know about that. I mean, look, there's a lot of things that could have led to that injury, right? I mean, last year he was 90 to 93, and now he's 96, 97. A massive jump up in his velocity for Grant Taylor. I saw him pitch before he got injured. I actually left the scrimmage right before he got injured, and he was throwing a 90-mile-per-hour cutter, which he didn't have last year, and absolutely crushing dudes with it, like killing people with that 90-mile-per-hour cutter.
Yeah, no kidding.
So, I mean, did the stress of a cutter, a new pitch on his elbow, did that take its toll? There's a lot of things, but I will say this with Wes Johnson. 2 things have stood out for me. One, everybody has multiple pitches for a strike. I know, probably like y'all, last year I would yell at the TV with Gervais and Razelman, like, throw something besides a fastball.
Yeah.
and throw something besides a fastball away. Can we please bust these guys in?
Inside, yes.
So that is the 2 things I have noticed from the stands. One, all of these guys, even guys that have been in the program for 2-3 years, they all have new pitches for strikes, and he calls them. He doesn't just say, "Oh, Cooper's got a changeup, but we'll never throw it." No, Riley Cooper's going to throw a lot of changeups.
Awesome.
Ty Floyd's got a changeup for a strike. And the other thing too, they throw all pitches to both sides of the plate.
That's awesome.
So I said this on my pod the other day, then I'll quit talking, but this wouldn't have happened last year. Ty Floyd was starting on Sunday. He went 2-0 to Trey Morgan, changeup for a strike, 96 on the inside black, see you later. So last year, like, that doesn't happen. One, the changeups for a strike don't happen, and not back to back. Yeah. And then the 2-2 pitch on the inner black definitely doesn't happen. That pitch is 96 away.
Yeah.
So I think, and hopefully it continues, and I think people will be pleasantly surprised with how Wes Johnson calls games, and it seems like he really trusts these guys' ability and gives them the tools to succeed. I don't know if I have purple and gold glasses on, but that's just what I've noticed from the scrimmages.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, we got about 8 minutes till first pitch, so we need to get our season predictions in here, and I guess we start with Demouy. What's your season predictions? And I guess we can group them together here, and your tools for success for the season.
Yeah, I put it out there. I got them going. Now y'all don't have to do records. I just did it for the pod, though. I got them going 21-9 in the SEC. I got them winning the SEC West, regional, super. I have them getting to Omaha. Look, and as y'all know, once you get to Omaha, flip a coin, right?
Yeah,
who knows?
Yeah.
You can go 2 in Q, or you can get on a run, or you can run to somebody that's playing great right now. So, and keys to success, I would say, I'll give you 2. They got to find a consistent second and third starter on the weekends. It can't just be Skeens and then we're switching starters every weekend to get where they want to get. And I think they have the arms to get there. It's just they got to find whoever those people are, because it would be nice not to have to juggle a third starter for once at LSU in the past couple of years. And then lastly, the bullpen's got to clear itself up before conference play. I think, to me, those are the keys, because I think they're going to hit and they're going to do everything else. I could have said one other thing, but I'll let that go. But I'll see if y'all catch on to it. But those are, to me, the keys to success, the top 2 in my head.
Yeah. Zach, what's your predictions for the season?
I'll go more on the hitting side, since, Demouy did a great job of covering the pitching side, which I fully agree with everything he said. I definitely, and we alluded to it earlier today, I definitely want to see 7, 6 through 9 be a lot more effective this year in rolling over the lineup. I want to see more consistent hitting instead of, home run or bust. Those are definitely things I want to see. And this weekend specifically, I want to see them tinker with the lineup. And I fully believe we're going to see that. I would love to see, Dugas, Merrifield at second base. Would love to see other guys in the outfield, Pearson. Would love to see, obviously, the different catchers. I definitely want to see a variety of different lineups to start games and to end games. I want to see, just get everybody out there. This is an opponent that you're going to overwhelm. So I fully expect to see that, and that's what I want to see. As far as predictions, I fully believe that LSU is going to be in Omaha this year. I agree with Demouy. It's a flip of the coin. How much does that bullpen develop in order to us to make a deeper run into Omaha?
Yeah, I in terms of prediction, I think LSU wins the West. I think Tennessee takes the East. something y'all haven't, and which I didn't expect y'all to say it if you didn't want to, but I think LSU wins the SEC tournament too. I'm looking forward to seeing that. I think we have the starting ability to make a run in that tournament. I do think we make it to Omaha, and I'll be the one to stick my neck out there. I think we win it all.
Okay.
I think we win it all.
I like it.
I know y'all didn't want to say that yet, but I'll stick my neck out there and do it. Hey,
Louis, is that what you were alluding to?
No, I thought somebody was going to mention the defense. They want to see the defense.
That's where I was going. That's what I was about to say. 2009, though, we started number 1 in the country and we won it all. I think it happens again. I think Ryan just put in there 40+ wins, question mark. I do think we get to 40 wins. Yeah. I do, for sure. I do think we win it all. Tools for success, which exactly where I was going. I want to see clean fielding, and I think we're going to get that from Napolt and from all things Jay Johnson. Jordan Thompson is primed for an elite year. We found out that he had surgery before the season last year and played through it. And there's no question that had to play a role in it because, guys, his freshman year, he took over third base, then took over shortstop and played great. And I think he's going to do exceptionally well now that he's healthy. Really looking forward to seeing a bounce-back season from him. So play solid defense, and I'll piggyback a little bit off of Demouy. I want to see a set bullpen but by conference play, and I really want to see a good rotation of arms that are consistently coming in and getting 2-3 innings and really shutting the door on teams from whatever our starting pitcher has accomplished.
Yeah. Real quick. I know y'all. I got to ask y'all these.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Poll questions on Twitter. All right. I gotta ask y'all this. I put my poll questions out there. Do you think Skeens and or Shores hits 100 this weekend? Yeah, I had both, none, or one of the two.
I hate to be the negative one. I'm gonna say none. I think when the weather heats up, you're gonna see it.
I got you.
I told Zeke I'd let him come in and say go Tigers.
There you go.
You say go Tigers?
Go Tigers!
There you go. Well, you got to lean in a little bit to get your face in there. There you go. He's trying to get his face in. Paul Skeens or Chase Shores? I'm going to go Chase Shores.
Oh.
I'm going to go Chase Shores.
Okay. All right. Who do y'all think hits the first home run this year? I had Cruz, Tanks, Jared Jones.
Jared Jones.
Okay.
Oh, man.
I got Tanks. I got Tommy Tanks.
I'll go Tommy Tanks too. I was going to go Jared Jones, but I'll go Tommy Tanks.
All right. And last one. Over under on total home runs for the weekend. Over under 9.5.
We're watching something else.
Ooh, 9.
9.5. Over under.
We're watching something else.
I'm going over.
Yeah, watching something else.
All right. Well, when you get off, check out.
I'll take the over.
From last year.
Quit mumbling.
It's going to be interesting.
All right, guys. I appreciate Demouy. We really appreciate you coming on, man. It's been a great show. You always have great insight. Hey, Zeke, be quiet now. Be quiet now. You always are great. Have great insight to the pitching and I mean the whole thing. Hey, why are you just making?
It's his time, baby. It's his time.
It's his time to shine.
He just comes up. He makes just a random sound. I'm like, you're not even talking. You're just making noises. So. We appreciate your insight, Demouy. We appreciate you joining in. Go ahead and throw your plug out there. What's your podcast name?
Yeah, so the podcast is 60 feet 6 inches LSU Pod, but I had to abbreviate it, so it's 60FT 6IN LSU Pod on Twitter, and they have a YouTube channel as well. So thank y'all for helping me promote it, and I have a blast every time I come on with y'all.
Always.
That hour, I tell you what, that hour absolutely just flew by.
It just goes so fast.
It's crazy, man. Y'all
we got to watch some baseball now.
I know, anytime, man. And thank y'all for everything once again, man.
We're going to watch LSU.
You're more than welcome, man. We always enjoy you coming on. All right, well, we better wrap it up because Zeke's gonna be restless. Zach, if you'll run one more quick break, I'll wrap it up right after that.
All right.
Make sure you go follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, all at Tigers Avenue for daily updates on the show, and all things LSU sports. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to click off and hit that subscribe button at Tigers Avenue. We broadcast all of our shows live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter.
All right. I just corralled Zeke enough to wrap the show up. So, Zach, if you want to throw a few more comments up there, I know there's a bunch in there. I'll answer a few of them. And as I wrap it up here, it's been a great show. Demouy always awesome. Morgan, first home run. Wow, that's a hot take. I like it, Matthew. He's going to take the over on the home runs. What else we got? Under because of the wind. Okay, yeah, a little weather. Let's go Tigers. Thanks, guys. Absolutely, Ryan. Thank you, Ryan. You're always consistently on here. We appreciate your support. Under the weather and our pitching. All right, guys. I think we've seen everything and discussed everything we possibly can in this show. Super excited for the start of this season and this game. It's 3:00, so they're about to start the pitch. Y'all flip on over to the game. Really looking forward to it. It's going to be a great season, and we'll be covering it all here at the Tigers Avenue. We'll see you next time. 5-Star Hero, take us out. Peace.
Let my snow